Welcome back to the channel. My beautiful observers. We've all wished for a built-in human lie detector when dating. But today's protagonist actually has one. And what does she do when the sudden noise in her head reveals her fiancé is plotting a soap opera level runaway groom stunt? With his ex at the altar, she doesn't cry. She beats him to the punch, hops a first-class flight to Paris, and leaves them holding the bag. Settle in, darlings. Because this is how you let the trash take itself out. I have a very specific and secret superpower. I can hear the true inner thoughts of anyone who doesn't love me. It is a damn near perfect human lie detector. Because of this ability, I can easily tell who is fake, smiling at me, and who is scheming behind my back. I can cleanly extract myself from those vain social circles and stay absolutely clear-headed when facing those Wall Street suit wearing bullshitters. Because every single one of their inner voices rings out like a broadcast in my head, to avoid being driven crazy by all that noise. I usually wear noise-cancelling headphones in daily life, or try to avoid until 2.5 years ago, at a charity dinner in the Hamptons. I met Adrian. When he walked up to me with a champagne glass, smiled and said, "Hello, mind if I take a moment of your time?" The world suddenly went quiet. No scheming, no contempt, no noisy inner voices. The moment our eyes met, I couldn't hear anything. During the days that followed, when he was madly pursuing me, the world around my ears remained quiet and pure. I believed that was proof of love, so we fell in love, moved in together, and eventually talked about marriage. For a full 2.5 years, I never picked up any of his inner thoughts until the eve of our wedding. Adrian comes from a conservative old money family, and recently just took over the family's private equity fund from his father. With the hectic wedding schedule on top of that, we've barely seen each other lately. I am a partner at a PR firm, and equally a workaholic. So I've always understood and respected his career. But today is the day we're finalizing our wedding outfits. I arrived at that high-end custom boutique 10 minutes early. He was already there, trying on the custom leather shoes for the wedding day. He turned to the side and whispered some instruction to the shop assistant. Then, holding his phone, walked toward the door while gently soothing whoever was on the other end of the call. Right at that second, when we passed each other and our eyes met knowingly, a clear, abrupt, and deafening male voice exploded in my mind without warning. Skylar said she is going to stand up at the ceremony tomorrow. Wearing these custom leather shoes tomorrow, I definitely won't be able to run fast. I'd better prepare a pair of sneakers. Skylar, stand up at the ceremony sneakers? He froze in place, my brain going completely blank for a full 10 seconds. I stared intently at his lips still speaking into the phone, confirming that voice just now was indeed his inner thoughts. Even though it is the middle of summer, I felt like I'd been instantly thrown into ice water, the cold spreading from my spine throughout my entire body, forcing me to remain motionless. I can hear his inner thoughts now. What this means is self-evident. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a staff member nearby, following his earlier instructions, stuffing a pair of black, lightweight sneakers into the garment bag he'd be taking to the wedding tomorrow. Adrian nodded apologetically at me and lifted his leg, ready to head out. Me, body reacted before my mind could catch up. I hurried forward and called out to him, "Adrian." My call made Adrian pause mid-step. He turned back, his eyes evasive as he explained, "Sorry, Harper. There is an emergency situation with a major client. I need to handle it personally. You go ahead and try on the wedding dress. Just put all the bills under my name." With that, he got into the SUV waiting outside. Most women, upon hearing their fiancé's inner monologue, plotting to humiliate them at the altar, would absolutely lose their minds right there in the boutique, not Harper. She realizes the sudden return of his inner voice means his love is dead, and she immediately pivots to elite crisis management, instead of confronting a man who is literally packing sneakers for his grand, dramatic escape. She quietly packs her own bags for the south of France. She refuses to be the crying, broken collateral damage in his little romantic martyr complex. This, ladies, is top-tier emotional regulation. Never interrupt a clown when he's busy putting on his makeup. You just buy a ticket out of town and let the circus burn. He was lying. Because at that moment, his inner thoughts were echoing in my mind without reservation. Just from the sound of her voice on the phone, I can tell Skylar's been crying again. If I don't go to the hotel to comfort her now, and she doesn't show up tomorrow, my whole plan will be ruined. Watching the taillights disappear into the distance, I took a deep breath. I've never been the type of woman who just wallows in self-pity when faced with betrayal. Rather than breaking down here, I might as well take the initiative. I called Adrian's personal assistant directly, used some PR tactics, and with my ability to read minds as a cheat, it took less than half an hour to piece together the whole story. Her name was Skylar. She was Adrian's first love from his college days. Back then, Adrian's parents thought Skylar was just a gold digger after the family fortune. After the family cut off Adrian's financial support and offered a substantial breakup fee, Skylar made her choice. She took the money and disappeared. When Adrian fell for me at first sight at that charity gala, it probably wasn't just because of my proper demeanor, but more because of my eyes that somewhat resembled Skylar's. No. Skylar has gotten divorced and returned to America, and the timing of her return coincides exactly with the past 2 months, when Adrian kept saying he was swamped with work at the company. The logic is sound, fits together seamlessly, classic as a third-rate soap opera. After hearing all this, I shook my head helplessly, finding it utterly absurd. I never imagined that this ridiculous stand, in a reunion drama, would actually happen to me for real. Skylar wants to use a spectacular wedding ambush to announce her return, and conveniently prove to everyone that she is the irreplaceable one in Adrian's heart. And Adrian, he needs exactly this kind of dramatic occasion to show everyone his determination to defy his family's arrangements, and naturally shift the blame for cancelling the wedding on True Love cannot be stopped, and me along with this meticulously planned $1 million estate wedding are just props in the script they're using to fulfill their own sense of romantic martyrdom. That night, the lights in my downtown apartment stayed on all night. Even though tomorrow is my wedding day, I am busy emptying my safe and packing my most important personal belongings. 2 hours ago, I already bought a one-way first-class ticket to France. Since they want to put on a big show in front of everyone, I'll play along to the end. If he can play betrayal with his first love, naturally, I can also play vanishing into thin air. Fortunately, my parents retired to their vineyard in southern France a few years ago for this wedding, to avoid the fatigue of long-distance flying for the two elders. We had originally planned this ceremony in America would mainly host Adrian's family business partners and my friends, and next month we'd hold a small family reception in Europe. This plan, originally made out of consideration for my parents, has now become the perfect cover for my escape. I sent my discovery and plan to my best friend Zoe in less than 10 minutes. Zoe showed up at my apartment armed with several huge black duffel bags. Because I can't hear the inner thoughts of those who love me, I don't know what is going through her mind right now. I can only watch her efficiently stuff my personal belongings into the bags and ask her softly, "Zoe, don't you want to try to talk me out of this?" Zoe stopped what she was doing and looked at me extremely seriously. "Why would I try to talk you out of it? This kind of relationship full of deception isn't worth your attachment at all. Hurry up, we're going to make him pay for his hypocrisy and turn him into the biggest joke in East Coast high society." The next day, perfect California weather, at the Hotel Manners greeting area, I stood together with Adrian in that custom-made Maine wedding dress, welcoming the guests. Today, Adrian's inner thoughts were so loud they triggered my migraine. Has Skylar come? She must be hiding in some corner watching me. When she steps out later, I must act firm enough. Listening to these inner thoughts, I looked at him with disgust several times. But on the surface, he pretended extremely well, still with that deeply affectionate look, even touching my arm with concern. "Harper, you look a bit pale. Why don't you go back to the bridal suite to rest for a bit?" Perfect for me, calculating the time. It was about time for me to get ready to catch my flight. I obediently nodded, and under bridesmaid Zoe's cover, returned to the main building. Just as I was about to go to the changing room to put on casual clothes, I ran into Skylar at the corner of the hallway. The instant we locked eyes, I recognized her immediately. Zoe's expression instantly turned cold. I held her hand and acted like an elegant hostess who knew nothing. "Hello, you are a friend from Adrian's side, right? You can go to the garden for some champagne. Our ceremony will start in 2 hours." Skylar deliberately wore a white silk dress today, the provocative intent very obvious. She smiled and said, "You are Miss Harper." "Right. Sorry about this. My dress today is also white. We're kind of matching. People who don't know might think I am today's bride, don't you think?" Meanwhile, her arrogant inner thoughts played synchronously in my ears. "Laugh all you want. In 2 hours, your fiancé will publicly abandon you for me. Let's see how you maintain that dignified facade of yours then." I maintained my graceful smile and shook my head, as if I hadn't caught the provocation in her words at all. I turned to instruct a nearby attendant. "Please show this lady to her seat. The ceremony starts in a few hours. I hope you have a pleasant day." As I turned to leave, Zoe followed close behind me, lowering her voice to vent. "Did you see that smug look in her eyes just now? Like a peacock showing off its feathers. I can't believe Adrian would betray you for someone like that." I quickened my pace toward the private passage at the back door while calmly replying, "Let her gloat. Adrian is all prepared to abandon me in front of everyone, to fulfill their true love that defies convention. Since they want to be center stage so badly, I'll give them the entire stage." The wedding venue was less than 40 minutes' drive from the international airport. By the time I sat in the VIP lounge ordering a non-alcoholic champagne, the ceremony at the estate hadn't even officially begun. I stared intently at my phone screen, waiting for that drama to unfold. Buzz, buzz, buzz. My phone started vibrating like crazy. Zoe began live text, casting from the scene. "Harper, the show is starting." "Oh my God!" She actually stood up right when the priest asked if anyone objects. 2 minutes later, Zoe sent over a short video clip from the scene. In the video, on the picturesque manor lawn, guests filled the seats, following the ceremony procedure. Adrian was already standing under the flower arch, waiting for the bride's entrance surrounded by his groomsmen. At that moment, Skylar, deliberately wearing that white silk dress that looked just like a wedding gown, stood up from the guest seating and walked briskly toward the front. Although the guests below started whispering to each other, she didn't care at all. she took the microphone and began a tearful confession. "Adrian, I know I shouldn't be standing here today, but I can't lie to my own heart. We've missed so many years. I can't just watch you marry a woman you don't love. Will you leave with me?" The guest seating erupted in uproar. This was exactly the kind of public scandal that those self-proclaimed respectable old money families feared most. But the most devastating part was that Adrian actually teared up, as if deeply moved, ignoring his father's livid expression below the stage. He walked towards Skylar without hesitation and took her hand. "I do, Skylar. This is the day I've been waiting for all along." In the video, under Adrian's exquisite custom suit, sure enough, he was wearing those out-of-place black sneakers. Skylar's hand holding the microphone was trembling slightly, her eyes and brows unable to suppress the smugness of a victor. Her vanity was greatly satisfied at this moment. She even turned around, facing the grand door that the bride was supposed to walk out from, and delivered a victory declaration full of green tea vibes. "Miss Harper, I know you are an excellent woman, but love cannot be forced. Adrian's heart has always been with me. I hope you can understand and fulfill us, Miss Harper." The second-hand embarrassment I feel for Skylar right now is physically painful. She prepared this rehearsed, sanctimonious, Oscar-winning monologue, fully expecting to publicly devastate the bride and cement her status as the ultimate prize. And she delivers it too, a folded dress on a chair. It's poetic cinema. By removing herself from the narrative, Harper didn't just ruin their grand romantic climax. She exposed it for the tacky, self-serving performance art it really was. And then dropping the receipts on the LED screen for all his Wall Street investors to see. Harper didn't just leave the chat, she deleted the entire server on her way out. Checkmate. The air in the video suddenly became awkwardly quiet. After all, the most crucial supporting character in this drama, the bride who was supposed to be crying her heart out and devastated, never appeared at all. In the sacred wedding music, that magnificent wooden door was slowly pushed open. Behind the door was no one, only a wedding dress neatly folded and placed on a chair, as if silently mocking it all. The crowd instantly erupted. Some bridesmaid couldn't hold it in and exclaimed, "Oh my God, the bride actually ran away from the wedding." In the quiet waiting room at the airport, I watched the video and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Since they needed fulfillment, I naturally generously fulfilled them. After all, sitting in the audience were also partners and important clients from my company. Standing them up was my fault, so I'll treat them to an unforgettable comedy show for free. Just as the scene descended into chaos, with everyone searching everywhere for the bride's whereabouts, the huge LED screen behind the manor's stage, originally meant to play our dating documentary, suddenly lit up. The lighting technician I'd bribed pressed the play button. On the screen, there were no touching love words, only a few lines of extremely eye-catching bold black text. Wedding cancellation notice because Mr. Adrian and his ex-girlfriend Miss Skylar have recently rekindled their love in order to fulfill this great love. I have decided to cancel the wedding. I wish the two of them a lifetime of happiness together. Below the statement, photos of the two dating at various high-end hotels and restaurants over the past 2 months, clearly rotated on display, along with those uncomfortable ambiguous chat record screenshots. No illegal privacy surveillance. All evidence I'd collected through legitimate PR methods and public channels. Buzz, a message from Zoe popped up again. "Mission accomplished perfectly. You absolutely can't guess how spectacular the scene is right now." At the same time, I simultaneously updated this statement to all my social media accounts, adding a simple farewell, next stop Paris. At the end of the video, the scene completely lost control. Who still has time to sympathize with those two crossed lovers pursuing true love? The biggest joke is standing right there on stage hand in hand. Like idiots, isn't it? The bride had long since run away, and before leaving, she even thoughtfully helped them officially announces the affair. Skylar's supposedly heartfelt confession on stage just now looked utterly ridiculous against the backdrop of that bright red proof of infidelity. What love that breaks through worldly conventions? It was nothing more than a rag to cover up betrayal. Adrian and Skylar on the screen looked at each other, like clowns frozen in place by spotlights, at a complete loss. They couldn't move forward, couldn't retreat, run away. No one was stopping them at all. Stay. Everyone's eyes were stabbing into them like needles. Ladies and gentlemen, first-class passengers traveling to Paris, please begin boarding. The airport announcement gently sounded. I turned on airplane mode on my phone, picked up that glass of champagne and drained it in one gulp, then settled comfortably into the spacious leather seat, ready to enjoy my 10+ hours of transoceanic flight. I had personally put an extremely expensive yet satisfying end to this unfortunate marriage. Over 10 hours later, when I landed at the airport and breathed in the slightly cool air of Paris in the early morning, the moment I turned on my phone, Zoe's messages came pouring out like a waterfall. Even after I replied to the first one, unable to contain her excitement, she directly placed a transoceanic voice call. Harper, your move is like a textbook PR disaster generator. You absolutely can't guess how spectacular last night's aftermath was. Zoe was laughing so hard on the other end of the phone she could barely catch her breath. I got into the pre-arranged car, looking at the Seine River outside the window, the corners of my mouth slightly upturned. Go on. How did the opening ceremony of that great love turn out? It was a complete disaster. As soon as your statement was broadcast, all the guests below started whispering to each other. Those Wall Street investors and old money family patriarchs were looking at Adrian like he was some junk asset that could depreciate at any moment. Adrian's father, that stubborn old man who is always valued the family's reputation more than his own life, got so angry he threw his cane on the spot. Without even glancing at the two people on stage, he left in a huff with his bodyguards. The remaining guests also left in 2s and 3s, making up excuses. In the end, on that huge estate lawn, only a few staff members were left cleaning up the mess. The funniest part was, Zoe lowered her voice, her tone full of schadenfreude. When I left, I saw Skylar still standing there trying to maintain her pitiful victim persona, crying and clutching Adrian's sleeve. But Adrian's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. His mind was completely occupied with how to explain this epic scandal to the family board, and he had no time to deal with her tears. I chuckled softly and shook my head. In this circle, love might be a luxury, but reputation and interests are the real hard currency. Adrian dared to play along with Skylar in this wedding. Crashing act, simply because he was banking on me choosing to endure it silently for the sake of the company's image, and even help him cover it up. He thought that even if the wedding got called off in the end, the blame would be packaged as incompatibility. But he never expected that not only would I run away, I'd also flip over all the cards and smash the table to smithereens while I was at it. A few months later, even though I was in Europe, enjoying a long vacation and new business ventures, news of Adrian's karmic retribution still reached my ears through various channels. That PR disaster turned Adrian's family into the laughingstock of high society. The board of directors, citing personal conduct, severely damaging the fund's reputation. Directly froze Adrian's control over his trust fund and handed the CEO position to his ambitious cousin. Overnight, Adrian went from heaven's favored son to an abandoned pawn marginalized by his family. As for that pair of star-crossed lovers, they did get married without even a decent wedding ceremony, because no one of any standing was willing to attend. And when Skylar discovered that the Prince Charming she had schemed so hard to snatch back had actually lost his family's real power and unlimited credit cards, that layer of white moonlight, filter-gilded by imagination, finally began to shatter. I heard Skylar's been trying to interfere with what little investment Adrian has left, even wants to shove that good-for-nothing brother of hers into the company's management. Zoe gossiped with me during a video call. Adrian finally realized that what he desperately pursued wasn't some soulmate at all, but a greedy opportunist. Those two are now fighting every day in their villa that is shrunk. By half it is literally a real-life gone girl. No matter how much someone is loved, they'll always pine for the love they didn't get. But when they actually get it, they'll discover that the so-called Cinnabar mole is nothing but a smear of mosquito blood on the wall. I have only 2 words to comment on this. Serves him right. Time is the cure for everything. And also the best litmus test. 5 years later, because of Zoe's wedding, I set foot on American soil again, after many years. In these 5 years, I expanded my PR firm's reach to Europe, and met my current husband, a legal advisor for an international environmental organization based in Geneva. He is gentle, wise, emotionally stable, and most importantly, when I am with him, my world is always quiet and full of security. This time back in the country, I also brought our 3-year-old daughter Lily. The day before Zoe's wedding, I held Lily's hand in a high-end department store in Manhattan, picking out a final wedding gift for Zoe. The little one was full of curiosity about the decorations in the display windows, hopping and skipping ahead. At a corner, Lily accidentally bumped into a man wearing a suit. "Oh, I am so sorry. Be careful, sweetie." I quickly stepped forward to steady Lily and looked up to apologize to him. "Harper?" A hoarse and incredulous voice sounded. I raised my head and met a pair of bloodshot eyes. It was Adrian. Honestly, if he hadn't called my name, I would hardly have recognized him. The man before me, though still wearing an expensive suit, had a slightly hunched back. His temples had gray hair. His eyes were weary and clouded, and his whole being exuded a heavy gloom of someone completely drained by life and a failed marriage that high. Spirited Wall Street elite from back then now looked like an ordinary bankrupt employee deep in a midlife crisis. "Hello, Adrian. Long time no see." I nodded calmly, my tone like greeting a distant neighbor I hadn't seen in ages. The moment our eyes met, my mind was completely silent. I couldn't hear any of his thoughts, just like when we first met, except back then it was because he hadn't revealed his true nature yet. But now, it was because I no longer had any emotional reaction to him. He didn't even deserve the right to have thoughts about me in his mind anymore. Adrian's gaze fell on Lily, a trace of painful shock flashing in his eyes. "My daughter, Lily," I introduced her generously. "Sorry, Uncle, I didn't see you just now." Lily apologized obediently. Adrian was stunned for a long time, forcing out a bitter smile. "It is okay, Harper. I heard you got married. Are you doing well? I heard a new cafe opened on the 2nd floor. You used to love unsweetened cold brew the most. Could we sit down and chat?" I looked at his almost pleading eyes and gently shook my head. "No thanks, Adrian. My husband always says cold brew is too hard on the stomach. I am more used to drinking lattes with oat milk now. I smiled, my tone gentle yet carrying absolute boundaries. As for catching up, I don't think there is anything between us worth revisiting. To me, that is already a matter from a past life. Harper, I really regret it. His voice trembled slightly, even carrying a hint of choking. After divorcing Skylar, I realized the person I truly loved all along was you. I was blinded back then. I lost you, and I lost everything. I interrupted his meaningless confession. Let this be etched in stone. The opposite of love is not hate. It is absolute, chilling indifference. Adrian spent 5 years aging, like milk in the misery of his own making, hallucinating that Harper was his true white moonlight. He crawls back in that mall, hoping for a dramatic reunion, or at least some satisfying anger to prove she still cares. Instead, he gets the polite, distant smile you'd give a stranger who bumped your grocery cart. The fact that her mind is completely silent when she looks at him. Absolute perfection. He doesn't even warrant a stray thought anymore. He is permanently locked out of her emotional Wi-Fi. Adrian, you don't need to apologize to me, because your choice has already made you pay the price you deserved. I looked at him calmly, as if looking at an insignificant stranger. I once devoted myself wholeheartedly to our relationship, so I have no regrets now. I have a happy family and a successful career. Someone moving toward a brand new life doesn't keep looking back at the scenery in the mud. What is missed is missed. No, he is good at using his imagination to fall in love with a perfect phantom. Before that phantom was the unattainable Skylar. No, that lofty phantom he can never reach has become me. I took Lily's hand and nodded politely at him in farewell. Have a wonderful day, Adrian. My daughter and I walked side by side toward the bright mall exit, without looking back even once at that figure frozen in place. This is the final revenge I left him with, a dignified, elegant, and complete disregard. In Adrian's world, the lover he can never have will transform into a lifelong lingering dampness. He will be forever trapped in this dampness, enduring alone the violent storms of regret in every uneventful day. And I have long since crossed that muddy ground and walked toward a wider open field. My loves, let's take a deep breath and talk about the fatal disease that ruined Adrian, main character syndrome. I see this so often in relationships that look perfect on paper. Adrian didn't actually want Skylar, just like he didn't actually love Harper. What Adrian loved was the audience. He wanted the drama of defying his wealthy family. He wanted the cinematic thrill of leaving a perfect bride at the altar for his forbidden first love. He was using both of these women as props to build an image of himself as a passionate, rebellious romantic hero. But here is the beautiful truth Harper understood. When you realize someone is just using you as an extra in their narcissistic movie, you don't fight for a better role. You walk off the set. By refusing to play the devastated, jilted bride, Harper starved them of the very thing they craved, the dramatic conflict, without her tears to validate their forbidden love. Adrian and Skylar were just two foolish people standing on a lawn, ruining their own reputations in front of a horrified crowd of investors. And the ultimate karma. Adrian spent the next 5 years realizing that the peace and quiet he took for granted with Harper was the real luxury, not the chaotic drama he chased. So, I am turning the floor over to you, me brilliant observers. Have you ever had the quiet satisfaction of watching an ex's perfect plan blow up in their own face because you simply refuse to react? Have you ever experienced the sheer power of looking at someone who used to break your heart and feeling absolutely nothing at all. Spill your tea in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe. And remember, your peace is your power. Stay sharp, stay unbothered, and I'll see you in the next story. Cheers.